birthday to you on this occasion of yours. Happy birthday to you. Many happy returns. Happy birthday to you.
I believe that the activities of my office as the First Lady of the state have been to support whatever it is His Excellency Governor Dr. Kayode Fayemi is doing in fulfillment of his mandate of leadership in the state. All the areas where His Excellency is focusing on, all the 5 core pillars of his second term, all those areas, governance, infrastructure development, social investment, and the others, are areas where we need the full and equal participation of Ekiti women. And so everybody knows me to be a women's rights advocate, and trying to ensure that women are actively informed and are engaged and key players in all these components is very important to me. And so I have spent the past 1 year working on these issues to ensure that gender issues are mainstreamed and that Ekiti women have access to all the information, opportunities and resources that this administration can provide. On a daily basis, we receive reports of women or girls, even babies, who have been violated. And drastic problems require drastic solutions. We have a law in Ekiti State against violence. It's a law that protects both women and men from all forms of violence. But His Excellency the Governor and the Attorney General believed that we needed more drastic measures to be in place to protect particularly women, and girls and children. And so that is why the name and shame policy was introduced, which means if there's anyone who has been indicted for a sexual offense and is serving jail time, that person will be named. All the communities, all the relevant communities and persons responsible will know who this person is. And we don't want situations whereby if this person happens to be a teacher, for example, and we've had many examples of those, where teachers violate their students, and then we are told, oh, this person used to be a teacher in some other community, let's say, for example, in Idosi local government, and he shows up in the Erelu local government and does the same thing. How was it possible for him to show up and still be teaching young girls or teaching young people? So if you have a name and shame register, as is done in other parts of the world, the people around will know that this person is not someone to be trusted with our children, not someone to be trusted to be working around young girls. They can find some other form of employment, but not something that brings them in close contact with people who might be vulnerable or people who they are going to be providing leadership for. And it has received tremendous support from our people within Ekiti, and people all over the country are watching because they too want similar laws in their own parts of the country as well. I'm absolutely delighted. The gender-based violence prohibition law was passed in Ekiti State in 2011 and was signed into law on November 25, 2011. During that time, a couple of things have happened. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act was passed at the federal level, and the understanding was that states of the federation would domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. There are those states like Ekiti who already have their own GBV laws, but so it was expected that we would harmonize our own law with the provisions of the VAP Act. And on close examination of the Act, we found out that there are some elements of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act that are strong, and there are elements from our own GBV law that are even better than that of the VAP Act. So we felt it was better to harmonize the laws, and also some of the penalties in the original GBV law were quite low, and people felt that this was not going to serve as a deterrent for perpetrators, particularly repeat offenders. And so now this law is a stronger one, it's an improved one, it's a harmonized one, and it also takes on board previous legislations that Ekiti State has, like widowhood practices, female genital mutilation. The penalties are stiffer, and the procedures for ensuring that justice is done have also been streamlined. So I'm very excited about this new development. It means that, again, Ekiti State is going to be a pace setter when it comes to issues around gender equality and women's empowerment. The Onjarugo program is meant for elderly women and elderly men who are finding it difficult to sustain themselves. During the first term of His Excellency Dr. Kayode Fayemi, my foundation, the Ekiti Development Foundation, operated a food bank and a soup kitchen in collaboration with one of our local NGOs. And one of the lessons we learned from that was that we have a lot of old people in the state who are finding it difficult to support themselves because they've either lost all their children or their children are themselves poor or unable to take care of them. And so we started the food bank then, but it was not just the elderly people it was supporting, it was also supporting widows as well as orphans and vulnerable children. This time around, I felt that we should focus exclusively on the elderly because we were beginning to receive reports that more and more elderly people were dying was basically starving to death because they did not have people to support them in their communities, which sadly usually was not the case before. And so the Onjarugo program focuses exclusively on elderly people who are indigent and who need help. And it is meant to complement His Excellency's Social Security program, the Owarugo program for the elderly. So the Onjarugo program is meant to complement the Owarugo, and I'm very pleased with the results so far. So I'm hoping that citizens of the state and beyond will come forward to support it because it's not something that the government can do on their own. We've been able to get this far with support from corporate bodies, and individuals have been supporting my work. So I'd like to believe that there are more people out there who'll be willing to come forward and help. Well, you should expect, I believe, a continuation of all the things that we've achieved so far. And with God's grace and with the support of the good people of Ekiti State, people should know that they can always come to me to support in whatever way I can. And Mother General is only too happy to help. And I believe that that's the least I can do because I see my only responsibility as being here to support my husband. And so whatever I can do to support my husband in his quest to deliver on his promises to the Ekiti people, I'll be quite happy to do.
Happy birthday to